My name's Mark, and you're listening to Headstraight. Hello, you lot, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about something quite important. Why should I care about anyone but me? Let's be honest for a second. People are a lot. They're demanding, complicated, draining. And if you've spent a long time just trying to survive, manage your mood, keep your head straight, get through the week, the idea of caring about other people can feel like just too much. You might think, I've only just got myself together. Why should I carry anyone else's stuff? Isn't focusing on myself the healthy thing to do? And for a while, it is. There's a phase in life where turning inwards is necessary. You learn your boundaries. You get steadier. You stop abandoning yourself for everyone else. But here's what no one really warns you about. If your life stays completely self-focused, it eventually starts to feel flat. Not dramatic or miserable, just empty. You're coping, you're functioning, but something's missing. And that's usually the moment people start telling themselves stories like, I'm just not that empathetic. I don't need anyone. Caring makes you weak. This episode is about gently challenging that idea. Because caring about others doesn't mean fixing them. It doesn't mean carrying everyone else's emotions. It doesn't mean burning yourself out to be a good person. It means recognizing something simple and slightly uncomfortable. Your choices don't just affect you, they shape other people's experiences too. And when you understand that, not as pressure, but as connection, life starts to feel bigger than just managing yourself. So let's talk about why caring isn't weakness, why contribution isn't self-sacrifice, and how empathy actually strengthens you rather than draining you. Somewhere along the way, a lot of people picked up on this idea that caring makes you soft, too emotional, too invested, too easy to hurt. So the solution becomes distance. You stay detached. You keep things surface level. You tell yourself you're just being independent. And to be fair, that can work for a while. Especially if you've been hurt before. Especially if you've carried too much for other people in the past. But this is the bit that just doesn't get said out loud. Detachment isn't strength. It's a form of protection. And protection has a cost. When you stop caring to avoid pain, you don't just numb the hard stuff. You numb the meaningful stuff too. Connection. Purpose. That sense that what you do actually matters to someone. But this is the uncomfortable truth. Caring isn't weakness because it doesn't mean losing yourself. Caring means being affected and staying grounded anyway. It means noticing how your words land, how your mood shifts the room, how your choices ripple outward. That takes more strength than indifference ever will. Because indifference avoids discomfort. Caring tolerates it. And the people who have the biggest, quietest impact on others aren't the ones who stay detached. They're the ones who stay present, without rescuing, fixing, or overgiving. Which brings us to something really important. If caring isn't about self-sacrifice, what actually makes it worthwhile? Now, there's a stage of life where focusing on yourself is necessary. You stabilise, you learn limits, you stop running on empty, and that's healthy. But if life stays there, permanently centred on you, something subtle starts to happen. You're okay, but you're not fulfilled. Days blur together. Wins feel smaller than you expected. You're managing life, not really inhabiting it. Now that's because Meaning doesn't come from constant self-monitoring. It comes from contribution. Not grand gestures, not saving the world. Just knowing that what you do makes something better for someone else. A conversation that steadies someone. Showing up when it would have been easier not to. Being someone who brings calm instead of chaos. These things don't show up on achievement lists, but they register deeply inside you. Because contribution shifts your focus from how am I doing to what am I adding here? And when that shift happens, life feels wider. You're no longer just protecting yourself from discomfort. You're participating. And participation is where meaning lives. This is why people who care in grounded ways often seem more settled. Not because life is easy for them, but because their lives are connected to something beyond their own internal weather. Which brings us to something practical. Because contribution doesn't mean giving everything to everyone. It means understanding where your impact actually lands. When people hear words like empathy or contribution, they often imagine something overwhelming. Like you're suddenly responsible for everyone. Like you're supposed to care deeply about the whole world. But that's not realistic, and it's not helpful. This is where the impact circle map comes in. It's a way of keeping care contained, not limitless. You imagine 3 rough circles around you. The inner circle is the people you interact with most: friends, family, classmates, teammates, and colleagues. The middle circle is people you affect more indirectly. People you see regularly but aren't emotionally connected to. The outer circle is the wider world. Things you care about but don't directly control. Here's the key idea. Your biggest impact almost always sits in the inner circle. That's where your tone matters most, where your reliability matters most, where your choices are felt most clearly. You don't need to carry everyone. You don't need to save anyone. You just need to be intentional about the spaces you already occupy. Because when people burn out on empathy, it's usually because they're trying to care everywhere, instead of caring well where they are. So contribution doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means choosing where your energy actually belongs. And when you do that, caring stops feeling draining and starts feeling grounding. Which brings us to the final piece of this episode, because caring is only powerful when it's balanced. Now, as I've said, caring doesn't mean carrying everything, and it definitely doesn't mean ignoring your own limits. Real empathy has edges. It knows where you end and someone else begins. So, if caring has ever left you feeling drained, resentful, or quietly angry, it's not because empathy is bad. It's because boundaries were missing. Balanced care sounds like showing up without rescuing, listening without fixing, supporting without overgiving. It means staying connected whilst still staying yourself. And now this is something really important. You're not responsible for other people's feelings, but you are responsible for how you treat them. That line holds everything in place. It frees you from carrying what isn't yours, while keeping you accountable for your impact. And when you live like that, something shifts. Caring stops feeling like a burden, and it starts feeling like strength. Because now, your empathy isn't leaking everywhere. It's grounded, deliberate, and sustainable. And that's what makes contribution meaningful rather than exhausting. So let me set you this week's challenge. This week, I want you to do one small thing that supports someone in your inner impact circle. Not dramatically, not with self-sacrifice, just intentionally. And I want you to notice how it feels, not just for them, but for you too. In the next episode, we're going to close the season. Now, if your presence matters, if your choice ripples outward, what kind of legacy are you creating right now? Not someday, not when you're older, now. So, are you up for it? Of course you are.